Welcome back, everybody, and Happy New Year as well. We're going to be carrying on with the text adventure tutorial. This is part 5, I think, is what we're going to be looking at today, and we're going to actually be looking at how to make this thing randomly generate battles based on the enemies that we put in. So if we just check, yeah, we've got all of our loot stuff sorted by now. At the top here, you should have your enemy classes. So I've got 4 different enemies that we're going to be fighting against today. Now there might be a little bit of trial and error getting the defenses and the attacks right and things like that, because the way we're going to work out how much of damage we do to these things, we're going to be timesing and dividing their defense and attack and things like that, but you'll see what we mean in a little bit more detail in just a second. So this piece of code is going to go just before your inventory wipe. So we actually had the character select screen. This is going to go before character select. We're going to define the battle state. So just like before, define battle state. Now what I have in the final version of the game, I have 2 different battle states. One for fighting ground-based enemies and one for fighting flying enemies. We're just going to stick with a nice simple one to start, and then maybe later on down the line I'll do like an expanded version where we do different types of battle state depending on the type of enemy that you've got. We'll just keep it simple for the time being. So define battle state. So what we want to do here, we're just going to take battle state variable and take that equal to 1. Basically what we're going to say here, what this variable is going to do, is that when this battle state is run, this will change it to 1, and I'm basically saying that the battle state is on. Which will allow me to run certain like while loops, and then when the battle state is off, so for example I kill the enemy or my character gets killed, the battle state will turn to 0 and then a different part of the program will run. So at the moment, because it's going to need to be on, we say it's a 1. Now the enemy that we want is going to be between, we obviously want to select a random enemy, so rand_int, and I've got 4 enemies, so I want to select between 0 and 3. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those enemies into a list, and so my 4 enemies were, let's go back up here for a second, so Goblin, Ghost, Dragon and Demon Dog. Make sure I spell it on correctly. So Goblin, Ghost, Dragon, Demon, Dog. That should do it. If that throws up an error in a minute, I'll know where it's come from. So basically what I'm going to say in a minute, you'll see what happens in a second. It's going to pull a random enemy from the enemy list, and it's going to have you fight that enemy depending on the enemy number. Right. Okay, so now we need the attack list, and that is going to equal, oh dear, so the attack list here is just all of my character's attacks, and then I can use those in just a minute. So I could use them by just calling them at a time, but it's actually easier to do it this way because then I can add random elements into it. You'll see what I mean in a second. So, quick introduction, I'll just print out UCN enemy from the distance, and then we'll randomly generate which enemy it is. So print it's a. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the enemy list here, and the position of the enemy list is going to be the enemy number, which is here. So it's going to be a random number between 0 and 3. So basically, it will select for me 0, 1, 2, or 3. So I'll just do enemy no like that, and there we go. couple of exclamation marks. So there, that's selected the enemy for me basically. I can use this throughout the entire of my battle state now to carry on selecting that same enemy. Another quick print statement. So the next piece we need to do is give the user a menu. So I'm going to give them 3 options that they could do. So they are going to be able to attack, they're going to have to check their inventory and eventually use something in there, and they're going to be able to run away if they want to. We're going to use an int input for this, just as we did before, because it will just make matching it a little bit easier. And we were just going to give them the options here. So 1 is going to be to attack, spelled correctly, and then you want your /n. 2 is going to be to check inventory, and then /n again, and 3 is going to be run. Right, okay then, so now on to looking at a couple more of these pieces here. So we just need to add a validation here. So if the user types a number above 3, we just need to give them the same options again. So while decision is greater than 3, we just want to print out number not allowed, and then we're just going to give them the same options again. Oops. Right, now we're going to go into the actual meat of the program here, or the definition here. So while battle state is equal to 1. So basically I'm saying here that while this is on, I want to carry on this repetition. So while my battle state is 1, and if my decision is also equal to 1, I'm going to say now that we have 3 attack options. And then I'm just going to do, well, instead of doing this is a print, I'll just do again attack equals int input, and then 1 is going to be sword /n. 2 is going to be magic /n, and 3 is going to be ranged. So what I'm saying here is that basically while I'm battling, so while the battle state is on, if the decision that the user chooses is 1, the user now has 3 attack options: sword, magic, or ranged. And what we'll do is, depending on the attack option, we are going to pull in the data from the class, the character class from above. This next bit here, x equals attack minus 1. A little bit of housekeeping on that one. I'm not 100% sure at the minute what that does, but obviously written it in here for a reason, so I'm sure it'll pop up in a minute, so we'll just keep it in there for the time being. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to program in my miss. So if my character misses, I need basically a variable here to say whether or not they're going to miss. And what I'm going to say here is I'm going to say for the computer to choose a random integer, random.randint, between 0 and 10, and I'm going to add that to the character.luck. Now, if that integer ends up being greater than, I think I put it down to like greater than 14, the character's going to miss. So you see that there's obviously quite a big chance, well no, bigger chance that they won't miss than they would miss. And we'll go through this in just a second. So this is actually it now. So if miss, so I've actually done it as greater than 8. So if miss is greater than 8, print attack missed. And then I print in that the enemy is going to be attacking us. Now what I could do is I could add in like an enemy attack, like whether or not they miss here. But what we're going to do is we're just going to say that they, when they attack at this point, they will always hit your character. Print enemy no. So there you see I'm just calling the random enemy again. It's the same one as above. And now I'm going to work out how much damage that has actually done to my character. So my damage equals, and I'm going to round it to 2 decimal places as well. So I'll use the round function here. So my damage equals round, and I'm going to round the following things to 2 decimal places. So it's going to be the enemy list enemy no dot attack value. I'm put it down as attack value or attack. No, it's just attack here. That wasn't. Yes, it's just attack. So the enemy list dot attack. So it's that random enemy there, their attack, and it's going to be divided by my character's defense. I'm going to round that to 2. So that's what the 2 does there, just rounds that to 2 decimal places for me. Now press enter. And now I just want to print the remaining health. Actually, no, I need to take the health off first of all. So I will now do my character dot health equals character dot health minus whatever the damage was, which we just created above. Now I'll print here the remaining health is so that will just print out the remaining character health for us. Now if the character health is less than 1, obviously the character has died, and then we are going to quit the game. So print the hero has died, print game over. And actually, instead of using a print game over, I'm just going to do quit game over, and what that'll do is it will show the words game over, and it will just terminate the program. A little bit messy way of doing it, but kind of simple way of just closing the game there. Okay, so now I'm going to do my else statement. So if I didn't miss, this is what's going to happen. So I've got my my else here obviously needs to be lined up with that if there. So just make sure you get your indentation correct here. So else now. So if the attack selected, so if this attack is 1, that means that I want to do a sword attack, which is here. So if my attack is 1, I am going to do damage equals, and then I'm going to round again because I only want these to go to 2 decimal places, or else it gets really messy later on. Attack list X. Right, okay, the reason that my X here, I'm sure some of you already figured it out, but what I'm saying here, this is obviously 1, 2 and 3, but my attack list is 0, 1 and 2, so the reason I'm minusing 1 here is so that this X is going to match up with the positions on the attack list. So if I go to the attack list up here, attack list is going to be 0, 1 and 2. Over here obviously it's 1, 2 and 3, so I'm going to minus 1 from that attack, which will give me X, and that will line up now with my attack list. So I can use that X to line up with the attack list position there. So whereabouts am I here? Okay, attack list divided by the enemy list, enemy none, and we're going to divide it by their defense, and we're going to round the whole thing to 2 decimal places. So my attack is going to be the attack list there, whatever value that is, divided by their defense and rounded to 2 decimal places. Obviously, when we actually run the game, if this comes out as being too high or too low, we can start tweaking these numbers and fiddling around with it and work out something that's realistic. So, okay, so print, you swing your sword and do no, it's just damage. So I'm just saying here that telling the user exactly how much damage they've done in this setting, because as we go on, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding to our stats and things like that, which will increase the amount of damage that we can actually output. Now, I'm not going to do the chance bit here because that's actually an advanced bit. We're going to be leaving that for the time being. So last thing we need to do now is actually take away the damage from the enemy health. So now I just want to do enemy list, enemy number, or no, sorry, equals, dot health equals, I'm going to copy and paste that. Minus the damage, and then I'm going to print underneath it enemy health remaining, and it's going to be the enemy list and number.health, and that should do it there. So that takes off from the health, and then it just prints off the enemy health remaining underneath it. Remaining. Let's try that again. Right. Now the final piece of this is that if the enemy list enemy number dot health is less than 1, so obviously what that says is that we've defeated them because their enemy their health is less than 1. We're just going to print out you have defeated them. We could actually do this a little bit better, and we'll actually call the enemy's name here. So you have defeated the enemy. So we call it by its class name. So you've defeated the enemy, whatever that is. And then, so you defeated the enemy. What we need to do now is we need to reset that enemy because it's a random game. We can obviously we could pull that enemy again in a minute when it randomly generates another enemy for us to attack. So we're just going to put their health back to the way it was before the battle. So again, is now equal to 100. So that resets it back up to 100 for us. And then what I'm going to do is battle battle state equals 0. So that turns the battle state off now. This is what I'm talking about because I've just defeated that enemy, which means it's not going to run anything else. And I'm going to run my loot definition, which I actually defined earlier. So enemy list, enemy null. And yep, that should, when we run the loop bit now, that should generate our loop for us. So if we take that bit through, I can have a look at it in a second. Now, if the enemy's health is not at that point, we obviously need to attack them again. So we take the decision again. Decision, actually I'm just going to grab it from up here. There it is. Nope. There we go. Okay, so actually that's our first if statement there. So that's our if attack. Now what we want to do now is we want to do our Elif attack. So Elif, the attack is 2. So this means that if they have chosen to attack the enemy with a magic attack here, so this will pull from a different part of the class that we've got. You notice here that it's getting a little bit wide, and we just need to be careful of these indentations as well. So this Elif is in line with the if of the attack. Okay. So if that attack is equal to 2. Sorry, Elif that attack is equal to 2. We're going to take it's going to be very, very similar. So it's going to be damage equals round attack list X, because this means that I don't have to actually type in, what it is they're doing, because it's already been randomly selected here with the attack list and the X, because they've already selected it for me. And I divide this by the enemy list. No. So it's going to be almost identical. Really, you could make this whole thing almost identical to the one above, but just substituting the magic attack here, and then working out, how that would affect that enemy. I just need to round that to 2. Dot defense 2. Okay, so I'm just going to do print you fire a lightning bolt from your hands. This does damage. So it's exactly the same as before there. So just one bracket at the end there. So you fired a lightning bolt at the end, like just the same as swinging the sword here. So what I had done before is I'd done like a critical hit chance and things like that, but we're not going to get into that much detail just yet. What we're just going to do is we're just going to take the enemy list, and we're going to minus the damage from it. So actually just do interesting. Equals itself minus the damage. So that now I can just print out the remaining health of the enemy. that minuses the damage from their health, and then it just prints out again. This is just like we've done before here. And then I'm just going to use the same, basically I'm going to take this whole thing, this exact same thing here again. So if the enemy list, enemy number, if their health is less than 1, you've defeated them, set it back to 100, turn the battle state off. For everything else, give them, and run the loop bit here, and for everything else, give the user the 3 options again, because it's exactly the same at this point. So there we go. Just check to make sure these are all in line. My if went a bit funny there, but everything else is in line there. So there's my second option. Now the third option. So this looks like it's the ranged option. So again, I need to make sure that my cursor is in line with this Elif here. So it is. So Elif attack equals 2. And I'm going to, it's going to be almost exactly the same here. So in fact, we're going to just grab this whole thing, and I'm just going to make a couple of changes to it. So if I grab the whole thing here, oh, so that's going to be 3, not 2. And so rounding it here, and then instead of having you fire a fireball, we'll just say you shoot a bolt from your crossbow, or something like that. This does whatever damage. That takes that. That's the remaining health. And that is literally all you need to change. Because here in the attack list, we're automatically selecting what attack that the character is using. So it's quite a cheeky way of just doing the whole thing and randomly generating the whole thing for us. Okay, so so I've got my Elif here. Now I just need to obviously finish this off with an else, and my else is I'm just going to give them the well, I could just give them this. Yeah, that is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give them this here. So what I'm saying here is during the attack phase bit that they do, if they like accidentally type something else in, I'm just going to go back to the main menu here instead of going through error messages and things like that, and then they can just go, hit 1 again to go to the attack menu, and all the rest of it. Just a slight correction there then, so this else statement here is obviously because I've finished attacking the enemy, because the enemy is has health less than 1, so I now give my user the decision to attack, check the inventory, or run again. But this else statement here is in case they have typed something different from the sword, magic, or ranged, so I need to give them those options again basically. So I'm just going to do the same thing again here. Where is it? Should be up here. I'll just print number not allowed, and then I will just paste that attack bit there again. Just seeing if I need to carry that X over. Probably do. I'll just carry it over just in case anyway. No, it helps to make sure. And that is all of the attack options, I believe. So do that. Yeah, okay. So we obviously have the 2 other options to do, but I think that's quite enough tutorial-wise, and we're going to leave it there for today. So that's the first of the 3 options. So let's just make sure that the actual thing runs. Just make sure I use the right brackets there. Try it again. Done the same thing again down there. Obviously done it again there. So now let's try it again. There we go, there's my 3 characters, choose my first one, and obviously it's not actually working yet because I've not called it, and it's actually incomplete at the moment. So that's syntaxically, that works correctly. So we will work on the other 2 options later on, and for the time being, if you just get that bit coded, we'll go from there next time. So the next 2 we'll be looking at is how to use the inventory and how to run away from the enemies. Okay, so I hope you got from that. So I'm just going to very quickly just scroll down what we've done today. So here we go. So while the butter state is on, I give 3 options. I programmed this miscalculator, and then I've looked at it now. So if they've selected 1 as their attack, this part here will happen. If they've selected 2 as their attack, that will happen. If they've selected 3 as their attack, this bit here will happen. At the end here, if they've selected another number, it's number not allowed, and then I just give those options again. So I hope you've got something from this, and like I say, we'll be finishing off this part of the program, this battle state, next time. Thank you for watching.